Hey everyone, today I want to talk about director's cuts or special editions, where you hear about directors being forced to release films by studios that they weren't totally happy with. And I was thinking about this since I've started my YouTube channel, so here's my reload of Star Trek the Motion Picture.
An alien object of unbelievable destructive power is less than 3 days away from this planet. The only starship in interception range is the Enterprise. Ready or not, she launches in 12 hours.
Did we just see the beginning of a new life form?
Yes, Captain. We witnessed a birth. Possibly a next step in our evolution.
I think we gave it the ability to create its own sense of purpose. Out of our own human weaknesses. And the drive that compels us to overcome them.
And a lot of foolish human emotions, right, Mr. Spock?
Quite true, Doctor. Unfortunately, it will have to deal with them as well.
Star Trek the Motion Picture was released back in 1979 and featured the entire cast from the successful 60s TV series, some 10 years after it was cancelled. However, Leonard Nimoy wasn't keen to return to the role of Spock because he had an ongoing lawsuit for the use of his likeness. However, Gene Roddenberry and William Shatner convinced him to take on the role of Spock again once the lawsuit had been settled. Shatner and Nimoy had become firm friends between the end of the TV series and the filming of this movie, and you can read about this in William Shatner's novel about his friend Leonard, which was released after Leonard Nimoy's death. You can also follow how Shatner and Nimoy shaped the movies in Shatner's book Star Trek Movie Memories. It's fair to say that this film had a troubled production, with many blaming Robert Wise, the director, and Gene Roddenberry for its poor story, which essentially was a rehash of the 1960s episode The Changeling, about a supercomputer looking for its creator. It is said that the production started without a finished script, with daily rewrites happening on set. I don't believe the film would have been released if it was made today in its current form. I think it would have gone through a series of reshoots. The producers were looking for a success similar to Star Wars and invested heavily into it. It was highly promoted on cereals such as Weetabix, with its cutout ships and collector's cards. There was also a toy line released, including a set of figures. I remember owning a Captain Kirk quite well. The film was released when I was about 7 years old, and I can remember going to see it at the cinema. I had no idea that there was 10 years between the end of the TV series and this film at the time. Although I wasn't impressed with it when I was a kid, I bought the VHS and I started watching it quite regularly. And seeing it through different eyes as a young adult, I started to appreciate the film in a different form. I thought the visual effects were stunning, and I really loved the music by Jerry Goldsmith. Also, there's a few key moments in the film where you see the relationship between Spock, McCoy and Kirk, which is always a nice thing to appreciate. The film's come under fire recently for looking dated and very 70s, and one thing that comes up is the uniforms, and people centre on the special effects, saying that it looks like 2001: A Space Odyssey. However, despite the film's shortcomings, I do believe there is a legacy for this movie. The fact that a lot of money was spent on it initially helped the sequels. The Enterprise was completely redesigned, and the model for that was used for all the sequels. Of course, the sets for the bridge were used right through the sequels up until Star Trek V. The Klingon ships were used, and of course the redesign of the Klingons was used up until recently, just before the launch of Star Trek Discovery. So the film really does have a legacy of setting the stage for the modern Star Trek movies and subsequent franchises. Even the music here by Jerry Goldsmith was used for Star Trek The Next Generation, and this particular piece, The Enterprise, is one of my favourites. So I think it's fair to say that the franchise as a whole has a lot to thank this film for. There's a few moments which I particularly love. Spock trying to mind melt with V'Ger on his spacewalk, and the concept of Ilia coming back as a probe. I think if the film had been remade today, she possibly would have been some sort of killer robot trying to take over the Enterprise, and that's how they would have infused some sort of action into the film. I love it when the Enterprise goes into war. And there's one scene where Kirk, McCoy and Spock meet again for the first time on Kirk's ready room.
Science Officer Spock. Reporting as ordered, Captain.
Please sit down.
Spock, you haven't changed a bit. You're just as warm and sociable as ever.
Nor have you, Doctor, as your continued predilection for irrelevancy demonstrates.
So, is Star Trek the motion picture an underrated classic? I do believe it is. Give it another watch, and just remember this next time you watch it. Would the franchise have carried on without this film? I don't think it would have done. Once again, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.
Mr. Sulu, ahead warp 1.
Warp 1, sir.
Heading, sir?
Out there. That away.